Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I want to believe that we can all hear me, right? Okay, great. So today we are continuing our journey on the introduction to programming. And our pilot today is our big brother Guy. And um, he'll be taking us on part of what he was supposed to do last week. And then, Guy, can you hear me?
Are you able to hear me?
Able to hear you.
Just a minute, I have some problem with the headset. I'm trying to solve it.
Okay, please, if you're able to hear me, kindly.
Yes, I'm able to hear you. If you are able to hear me, that's perfect.
I'm able to hear you, guys. So
Okay.
please, guys, take us away from here.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Hugo. And sorry for the last week, but really it was just the shifting and all of this. I want to remind you with something that this set of sessions, or this compound is, let's say, designed for introduction. That means we will start from the basics. So according to that, you might find that the first session or the second session or some examples are very easy for you. But this is a must, because also you have to consider might be some of the attendees, they might be still starting their journey with Python. So today the example, it will focus on a small game, very simple game. Using this game, we are able to show some instructions and some commands on Python, and how we are able to deal it, and how we are able to create a 1-unit project that we are dealing with. I will share my screen, and just for your information, I will use the Visual Studio community. It's a free tool, great tool from Microsoft. It's enable you as an IDE, enable you to work on different environment, including Python, C#, and others. And for me, it's nice to work on it when you are planning to make a project, and then will help you in later stage when you are creating installation or deployment, all of this. Now, one of the assumptions that your operating system is Windows, but this is also not truly a big deal, because Visual Studio is available for Linux or any other operating system, and also the .NET framework, or the .NET Core framework, it's helping you to provide your product to other operating system. I'll share my screen. Well, let's start from the beginning. I will show this step one time. It's easy step how to create a project using Visual Studio. Now, the Visual Studio itself, for sure you have to be install it, and it will take long time according to what you choose. But the great thing that you can go here, and when you first run it, it will be, this is the screen, and then you are able to click on create a new project. And create a new project, you will find the following. Just hopefully it will be awake soon. This window, it will help you to create your first project, and here you can see that you are able to choose the programming language that you wish. This is the, let's say, Visual Basic is available, C#, C++, Python. For sure we are going to use Python, and then you are able to choose which platform. That means it's Android or Azure or iOS or Windows. I'm selecting all platform, and also what is the project type. Now, mainly I'm going, in our case, we are going to choose the Python application, and then click on next. I'm not going to create the full application right now because I have it already, but here we have to select the project name and where it will be stored. And then when we click create, it will start the project for us. Now, once the project is launched, this is the window that we are going to see. Now, without the code for sure. Here in the Solution Explorer, you can find the project name and also the solution name and then the project name. What is the idea of solution? Briefly, when you are performing multiple tasks and all of them are packaged into one project, or let's say one on higher level in one solution, and this solution using multiple output from multiple projects to perform the task. So in .NET Core and Visual Studio philosophy, it's building a solution for it. Now, this solution contain multiple projects according to your need. For our need, it's only one project. Now, this project, we name it Pick a Number because the game is Pick a Number. Later, I'm going to explain exactly what is the idea of the game. It's a very simple game. But for this class, I'm already ready with 4 games. This is the simplest one, and then it will be higher and higher. Now, I would suggest to have another session with me, or we can delay these games for later. It's up to you, go what to do for that. But I will start with the simplest one for today. Okay. Inside the project, we can find the Python environment, which is the Python environment that installed in this machine. I didn't create a new virtual environment for it. I'm using this environment to keep it easier. And by the way, if there is no environment installed in the first project you are building in Python, Visual Studio will ask you to create the environment, and it will help you because it will be a wizard dialog. You can run it, and then everything will be done for you. So it's easy and simple way to create the virtual environment or the Python environment in your machine. Now, previously we talked. I don't remember if Tom talked about it. I think Tom was talking about the instruction. So I will keep this part to explain what is the environment, the Python environment exactly for later when we are go deeper. But in general, it's preferred to have a special environment for each project for one reason. The environment will contain all the packages that you are importing. And if there is some packages need to be installed, also it's be installed using this environment. Now, if you build all of your project under one environment, what will happen? Your environment will be very huge because it will contain all the packages. It will be imported already to your environment. Now, if these packages are not used in your project, in your current project, it will be extra resources for no reason. And this is what's the situation for me. For example, if I click here, you can find some environment which is not needed for my project today. Apache Beam. What else? All of these, it will not be used today. But because I did this mistake that I told you don't make it, which is, okay, I'm running all the project under one environment. And then also, it will create the Python file, which is the pick a number, which is the same name of the project. And this Python, it's our main project. All the code, it will be created here. We are able to add more Python files and choose which one it will be run first and add references to each other. But let's first explain what is the game. The game is simple, generating a random number between 1 and 200. And then give the player 6 trials to guess the number with some guidance. I will run it to see how it will work. To run any project, and then we will go to the code and how we build it. To run any project, here the start button, it will run it for you. And what will happen? We will see the following. First, we'll ask about my name. I will provide my name, enter, and then we are going to play a game. I'm thinking a number between 1 and 200. Guess. Okay, I will make a guess. For example, I will make 100. It will tell me that your guess is too low. So that means I have to increase the number. I will make it 150, for example. Okay, it's too high. 125. It's too low. 130. it's also too low. For example, 135, it's too high. I'm still have one last trail. I will try 133. Okay, wrong, because the random number generated, it was 132. Now there's one question here. Do you want to play again? If I add Y or yes or Y capital, it will rerun the game. Okay. So simply, this is the game that we are going to build right now. How to build it? First, here I'm importing the needed packages. The first one is the random. It will help me to generate the random number that I'm looking for. And then the time. Why I need the time? Because I'm using some sleep action. What is the sleep action? I don't want the game to answer me directly and to make this as very, very hard and continuous steps. I want to make sleep, give it an app just before give me the second, the next instruction. So I will use time library to make this sleep. Now we'll see how to use it. Now, first thing here, I'm generating the first step, and I'm generating the random number that I'm looking for, which is rand int between 1 and 200. So I'm picking a random number between 1 and 200. There's other methods to generate random numbers used into this library, random.rand. For example, it will give you a random number between 0 and 1, and then you are able to multiply it with other factors to make it higher and increase the margins. But rand-int, since I'm looking for integer number here, rand-int, it will be great. And I choose the, let's say, the minimum and the maximum, and then randomly the number it will be generated. Now, then I'm creating the intro function. Definition, it's giving me a chance to define a function. I'm name it intro. There is no parameters for this function. Now, what is the function? If you remember the last week's session, we said the function is a repeated task, and function or procedure, we name it. Function if it's returning a value, procedure if it's not returning a value. In this case, this intro, it's a procedure. We can name it procedure. For sure, this is scientific or theoretical classification, but in Python, all use the same structure. You can define the function and give it a name. So for us, this our procedure. Our procedure is asking for the name of the user, and already we have the random number generated. Show the messages and ask him to play. Now this is the intro. How to do that? We print first. May I ask about your number? We get the input from the user. Okay, I might have some problems. Maybe I will need to log out and log in again. So please forgive me for that. 2 minutes, I will join back to you. Okay.
Okay, so sorry, Guy has to log in with the correct profile. The profile he logged in with is for deeplearning.ai. So he has to log in with his own personal Zoom profile so that he can, he can just take things up from there. But so far, if you have any questions, you can ask. If there's anything that is strange right now, you can just ask, or let's discuss it while he comes. You can just unmute yourself and just ask. You can, okay, go ahead, Aziz.
I just want to say I'm fine for now. Thank you.
Okay, okay, great, great. Good to know. All right, so, yeah.
I'm sorry for that, but I joined again because I have problem with the login, and I'm surprised why it's again use this account. I tried to join from my personal account. Okay, I will reshare my screen.
Okay.
Okay, back to the code. Okay, we get the input. from the user, and the input without any message because we already print the message. Here we can change this one. We can add the message inside the input function itself, and it will be valid. So no need to make it as two, sorry, as two lines, and it will be the same. For example, we can remove this one. Okay, then we are printing the next message. We give it a sleep for half a second only, time.sleep, and we make it as a half a second. In this case, that it will not immediately tell him go ahead and guess. It will give half a second as a break, just to read the message. And then we are printing go ahead and guess. Now this is the intro. This is how we are just making, we give the intro for the player. Now then we have the pick. It's a loop. This function, it's contained of a loop. Since it's not 6 trials, we are asking him and giving him some guidance. This is what we see in the game. So first we are defining the variable, which is guess taken, how many time he tried. We make it 0 in the beginning, and then since it's less than 6, we can continue. This while, this is the while that we have. Okay, now everything on this area, okay, it will be rerun for each time for the guess taken. That means whatever it's happening here, once all of this sequence of instruction not finished, it will continue until we finish the sequence. It will recheck again. What is the value of the guesses taken? If it's still less than 6, it will rerun again the full list of instruction. This is the while, how the while is acting. Okay, so it's a loop, it's iteration, but also we have many chances to break it before finishing using the break instruction, and which is we are using here. We will reach it. Now first we are again give it sleep for quarter, less than second, and then we are getting the input from the user. Okay, now this input is used, it will be entered, it will be string, and again we have to this try catch. I will not going to explain it right now. We'll see what it's doing here, and then in the exception, I will at the end of the session I'm going to explain what is the try catch. Now guess we are converting the string value into integer. Now for sure we are suggesting that the player is aware that he is looking for a number. He is not going to input a letter. So for sure there is a number will be entered. And then we are checking the first condition for us. If guess is less than 200 and more than 1, because this is our range that we told them already, that we are looking for a number between 1 and 200. So if this is the case, continue and check the value. If not, tell him that we are here. Here is the case of the not. Okay, we are we can tell him that, okay, sorry, you did something wrong. This is your selection is out of the range, so you have to choose. And what's happened in this case, we are not changing. You will see that we are not changing the guesses taken. That means in case of selecting value out of the range, we are not tell him that the guesses taken is less right now. We are keep it as a not trial. So in this case, it will not be considered as one trial. First of all, once he select a number into the range, we are adding 1 to the guesses taken. Okay, and then if this guesses taken is less than 6, we will compare it to the number that we have, the number that already randomly selected. Okay, if it's less, we will tell him that, okay, it's too low. If it's bigger, we'll tell him that it's too high. If it's whatever, if it's not equal to the number, we are tell him try again. But we are going to break the loop, break the while loop, if the guess which is the value entered by the user, equal to the number, which is the value randomly generated by the program itself, or by Python itself. In this case, we are going to break, and once we break, we are out of the loop. Now, what will happen once we break or once we finish the 6 trials? In both cases, we are going to go out of the loop, but we are still inside of the function. We are starting this loop inside the function. We name it pick. Okay, so we will check if the guess equal to number. We'll tell him that, okay, good job, and give him a good job message. And if not, we'll tell him that this is the value that we were looking for. Okay, now this is the 2 functions that we have, the intro and the pick. But how it's all started, this is function. The function is not started by it. When we create a function, we are creating a functionality or a sequence of instructions, but it will not be run until we call it. How to call it? By writing the name. Where we are doing that, it's here. While play again, this is another variable. We give it a value of yes. Whenever play again value, it's still yes or y, or yes starting with capital, or we can add whatever it was. While we are going to, again, call the intro and call the peak. Okay. How this another loop broken? When we play again, change the value. That means, okay, when the message of do you want to play again, which is this one, it's in the input. We write not, or we write any other letter, not here, not from this value. This loop will be broken, and then everything will be stopped. The project or the game is finished. The game is over. Okay. So in general, what's happening in that when we start this project, first it will generate the random number. Then we consider these as only functions. It's not started. The random number generated. Then play again have the value of yes, and then this loop we call it, especially in the game programming, it's very common term to name it as a main loop. Always, each game, it has a main loop, even if it's big game with a lot of graphical user interfaces and artwork and something, or even if it's a silly game just like this, okay, there is a main loop for the game. So our main loop, it's always checking the play again, if it's yes or y, or yes with capital Y, then call intro, and after that call peak. Intro, it's giving us the intro messages. Peak, it's comparing the value entered by the user with the value generated. Okay, and then show this message. That means peak, it will never finish until he found the number, or he finished his trials, 6 trials. So after finishing, always we are going to ask him, do you want to play again? Because everything is done for this round, and then he is able to run one another round by entering yes or y, or yes with capital Y. Otherwise, he will go out of the project. The project will be stopped. Now, this is the game in general. One last point, it's related to the try. I will tell you what's happened if here I'm going to run the game. Okay. And I entered my name. Then he make a random generation, and I make a guess, but I make it as you, not a number. Okay. So he showed me a message. I don't think that you is a number. Okay, correct. It's not a number. But where this message in the code, where we can find it? Let's stop. Here we are considering that we already able to convert the entered value, which is saved on the variable, the string variable called enter. We are able to convert it to integer using this instruction. But if someone make the same mistake that I did right now, he entered a letter. Now here it will raise an error, okay? And if it's the error raised, that means the program, it will be stopped, it will be crashed, because this is unprocessed error. So this kind of errors, the simplest way to process them is to use the try. Try, that means we are trying to run the following instructions. But if there is exception, if there is error raised, okay, we are going to perform this task, okay? What's happening here? If someone entered a letter, then we will jump here. There is error will be raised. There is exception will be raised. And then we will jump to the exception part of the try. Try always comes with exceptions. Okay, with the exception part. And in the exception part, we are going to run a different set of instruction, not the same these, because we are going to notify him that he entered a letter, string value, not a number. Okay. And then what will happen? It will continue to the loop. So again, he will rerun the loop. He will ask for entering new values and again, trial once again. So this is what try giving us. It's just helping us to prevent the error, let's say, or the mistaken input by the user. Okay. So this is our game in general. In this game, we use the if in different ways. We use the while, we use the functions, and we see how to call the functions. And we take a good idea about the random and the time packages, not the full idea, good idea, okay? Beside that, we know how we are building our project. First, we have a functionality, we have a mainstream, we understand the game, how it will be. And after that, we are going to write the suitable code for it. Now, this code is not perfect, for sure. For example, here I'm doing a multiple if, but in fact, I'm able to use this one, which is else if, ELIF, which is else if. That means the difference between if and if. In this case, we are talking about one number. If I'm running if, and then another if, then another if, what will happen? The program will try to check all the cases. And we already know that only one of them, it will be the number, either the guess or the trial taken by the user. It's either smaller than the number or equal to it or bigger than it, okay? There is no chance to have the both cases, smaller and bigger together. So why I have to make it as if? No, we can use else if, because it will never check this one with else if or elif. It will never check this one until this one is not happened. Okay, guess is not smaller than number, so we are going to check if it's bigger. Okay, so using else if, it's faster, and especially now here for this game, it's very simple game, so it didn't has a real, let's say, effect to move from if to else if. But in general, yes, it's better to go for else if when the conditions that we have is really clear, that no need to doubt about maybe both of the cases it will be activated. Okay, this is a small session for today. Hopefully you enjoy it. The code is available. I will open the if any question appeared to answer you.
Guy,
Yes.
thank you very much for this session. What Guy just did now was to walk us through how a simple program works, so that when you see, last week Guy talked about the three things or the two things that make up the program. He talked about control structures and he talks about variables, so he just tried to show you the interplay of how variables and the various control structure works. Guy, if you owe us something, you told us you were going to show us a simple example of functional programming, object-oriented programming, and procedural programming.
Okay. Now this
Yes.
is one example about the functional programming, because
Okay.
you can see that this is the functional programming that we are separating, let's say, a functionality into a function, and this function we are able to call it. You can see this one we are able to call it for whenever the player is still playing, he is calling the function. Now, the object-oriented programming, I'm going to open the next game, which is, I told you maybe it will be next week, but okay, I will show it as a high level right now,
Okay.
not going in
All right.
detail.
Okay.
Okay, just to discuss about the object-oriented programming. Okay. Not desktop. C. Sorry, this PC. C. Not this one. I think this one, tic-tac-toe. Okay. Again, I'm using the Visual Studio for this game. This game is the XO game, the tic-tac-toe game. It's a very familiar game that everyone is know about it. Just to take a look, it's also built for 2 players. That means we are suggesting that 2 players sitting to the machine. It's just an example. That means there is no AI on it. There is no computer playing on it. Okay. Just let's check. I will show you how it will work, and I will show you how we are using the object-oriented programming in this game. Now, also again, I will say it's not the perfect. Now, the object-oriented programming, it's different from object-oriented design. Okay, it's work like this. You can each click, it's for different player, and at the end, it will tell you if it's draw or it's whatever. Now, here we can find that we build a class called tic-tac-toe. And in this class, we build something called, it's very important function called constructor. Okay, this constructor, it's always in Python named as init. In C#, generally it's take the same name of the class name. Okay, each language, it has their own standard, but the constructor as an idea is a method or function that we call it when we create instance from the class. That means when we create object from the class. So we are defining exactly here what we are going to do when, let's say, it's the birth function. For okay, exactly, it's the birth function when we want to create an object from this class, which is the tic-tac-toe class. This method, and by the way, any function or procedure we created inside the class, we usually name it as a method. Okay, so this method, it will be called on the first creation of the object from this class, the first instantiation of the for the object from this class. Okay, when we're creating instance, I'm repeating it to cover all the terms used in this case. Then we have another function, it's the main loop. Remember, we have, I told you, on the game programming, always we have a main loop. The main loop in general, it's what's keeping the game continuous, able to be played again and again until if finishing condition is happened, which is, for example, in XO game, when we have a 3 in line, 3 X's or 3 O's in line, this is will break the loop. Or when all the squares, the 9 squares are full, this is also breaking the loop. So this is the main loop. We are here because I'm using a window package just to, because there is a Windows interface, there is a window for this game. So we are just calling the window main loop in it. And then initializing the board, which is the 9 squares, okay, the canvas, okay, how we are defining it, it's also another method. All of these are methods, also how to draw the O, how to draw the X, and how to display the game over messages. All of these are method inside the class called tic-tac-toe. Okay, with other games. I prefer to explain it later because not only this, I told you now there is 3 new games. They are already, that mean it's ready, that we are able to explain it. But I want to show how even sometimes, even if the game is more complex, but we are able to not use the object-oriented programming. We can run it as a functional programming. So that's why I want all of them together. Now, all of this, I'm just, okay, how to define the winner. Also, it's a method inside the class, how to define its tie or its draw game. That means there is no winner, and define the game over. And once I finish, I'm only creating the instance. Now, all of this, it's not run. Here, I'm defining the class. And this class, I can use it in this program and another program. Okay, before that, I'm defining the size of the board, the size of the sample, which is the X or the O. Okay, the color for the X and the O, and all of this, it's global variables. We name it, since it's outside of the class, we name it global variables because in the same project we might have multiple classes. Okay, then the game instance, I'm just writing this to tell Python that I'm creating instance from this class. What will happen? It's immediately will run the init function. Whatever it's here, it's already, let's say, the preparation. That means, okay, now we are creating this this instance and we are starting the game. Okay, now what is the name of the self? Self, that means we are passing only, there is no parameters. It's only the value of the class itself, the values in the class itself. That's why when we are call it here to create an instance here, we are not passing any parameter. Otherwise, we have another option to create a constructor, which is init function with some other parameter. For example, I want to give it some value. For example, I'm not creating a tic-tac-toe class. I'm creating a tic-tac-toe player class. That means I want to name this player as X player. In this case, I will pass a parameter to the constructor upstairs and the init function here. I will, for example, I will add, okay, player type. Okay, and here I have to tell him that, okay, I want X, which is the player, it will be X, for example. Now, in this case, I have a constructor with a parameter, and then run the main loop. And in the main loop, everything, it will be started according to that. The main loop, as I told you, we are calling the window main loop, and the window, it's class in this package, which is Tiki Enter, which is, it's helped me to create a Windows interface or a window for my product. So everything, it will be run according to that. So this is one example about that. I didn't explain the game itself, how we build it. I explain how we create let's say, one example of object-oriented programming. I create a class, I create instance from it, and I run it. This is the only thing we did. You see, what's happening when we run the game, it's starting from the global functions, and then it's not going to the inside of the class, it's going to here, and then the main loop, it's designed in a way to call the other methods. Why this is valuable? Now, the tic-tac-toe class that we created, we are able to use it here. We are able to take it as it is in this package, for example, and use it on another project, which is, for example, it's a set of games. So immediately we have one game is ready, which is because it's packaged on one class. We don't need to rewrite the code for it. So this is one example about the object-oriented programming. But again, I'm not explaining the game because I think we have to explain some other packages and libraries before going to this game.
Exactly, guys.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. Thank you very much, guys. So, yeah, what we have seen so
Okay,
far.
I have a question from I think Terith Shah.
Yes, from Terry.
He is asking me why you are using Visual Studio instead of Visual Studio Code. Okay, Visual Studio in general, Visual Studio Code, it's the minimized or the IDE of the Visual Studio environment. Visual Studio, it's not only IDE, it's a full environment. It has a support not only for writing code, running the projects. It has support for the full life cycle of any software development, including the AI or data science life cycle somehow. And it has also a lot of plugins related to it. For example, if you are running, when we talk about the software lifecycle or application lifecycle management, in the Visual Studio, it has a lot of functionalities related to that. For example, if you are run your management or methodology is Agile or Scrum, you have windows to inside the Visual Studio to archive your sprints, your meetings, all of these things, the change request, to manage your change request. And the great about Visual Studio, it's integrated with both. It's able to be integrated with Git for versioning and also with the Team Foundation server, which is the full environment of application lifecycle provided by Microsoft. Now it's paid, but I used to work on it in my different companies that I was working for. That's why I'm very familiar with the Visual Studio. And also the packaging methods, preparing everything to be deployed or published, whatever was the application kind, even if it's web application, it's mobile application, let's say the deployment support, it's very high for it. So all of this, all of the activities that you are going to perform in your application to support your application lifecycle, even if it's data science lifecycle or machine learning lifecycle, it will be here. You can find quick tools to do it. In this way, it's let's say it's creating a lazy programmer somehow, but also effective one or proactive one that it's able to discard the headache about the managerial actions and the deployment actions and all of this. This is the reason of using Visual Studio Community. By the way, if you are familiar with Visual Studio Code, it will not be hard to go for Visual Studio Community. It will be very easy.
Okay, guys. PyCharm, we have PyCharm, we have Sublime, we have Atom, we have Eclipse, we have a lot of them. Which one do you advise? Since Visual Studio is paid.
No. Okay. I'm always preferring to be tool agnostic. That means for me, I don't have a problem to go with any of these. Okay. It's what is easy for you to go for. Go ahead. Now, what I'm able to tell you that for me, as a guide, the preferred one is Visual Studio Community for many reasons. As I told you, first for the huge support for the full life cycle stages. This is the first reason. The second reason, it's helped me to run on many languages. By the way, when I say many languages, not life languages, not English or French. I'm talking about programming languages, because I'm originally C# programmer and then Python programmer, and also I'm making some move toward Julia, and all of this is supported in Visual Studio in a great way. So for me, Visual Studio is facilitating a work in different for all the stages and for many platforms. So this is great for me. That's why I like it. So
okay, great.
Who want to communicate to me always, I prefer to work on Visual Studio, but it's not a must. Whatever it's suitable for you, go ahead with it. Eclipse is great. Also, I have a good trail about Eclipse, and I find it very nice. By the way, I think also Tom prefer Adam. He like it
yes.
also. So that's why I'm telling you, it's depend on you. It's not depending on the tool itself. Sometimes there is some companies, they are creating a magnificent tool for example, this is what happened in the Visual Studio. Visual Studio was very normal tool until 2002. Okay, I'm old person. Okay, so in 2002, they are with the .NET framework launching. They push the Visual Studio, the new versioning, which is right now from that time until now, it's still the same spirit. But if you checking the Visual Studio 6 and the Visual Studio .NET, you can find, which is between 1998 up to 22. Okay, you can find a huge difference. And at that time, everybody start to look again to the Visual Studio as a great tool, because before that, everybody start to run away from the Visual Studio and especially from Visual Basic. So whatever happened, after 1 year, you can find other companies are recovering themselves and they are creating the same great tool. So for me, I prefer to be tool agnostic. The most important is the how you think, the programming and logical thinking. This is the most important for me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Guy. Now, one of the things that we notice, especially for those of us that are new to programming, are a lot of keywords. We saw if, we saw elif, we saw try, we saw except. I'm sure for some people who this was their first encounter with Python programming, it's a bit dizzy for them. So can you just give us a rundown of some of the very popular keywords that you will meet a lot? Yes.
I will back to the previous session last week. If you remember, in last week I told you there is 4 actions or 4 instructions. It's very important. How to enter the value, get the value from the user. How to show your values, which is in our case in the first game it was only the print. How to check the condition, which is if and elif. And how to run the iterations or the loops. In our case, it was while. There is also the 4 loops. Already Tom speak about it last week. Now, when we are talking about if, elif, it's if at the end, the if condition. You can check everything related to the if condition and you can find it's either if only or it's nested if. In this case, you can find a lot of elif. Elif, that means else if. Else if, that means if the first condition it's not achieved, it's not true, it's false value. So it will jump to the second one and test it. Now the while, also it's while. That means since this condition it's achievable, it's a true, we will rerun the full list of instructions. Okay. So this is the 4 in general. Now, what is the try? Today, what we find new, it's import already, I think also Tom spoke about it. It's the new thing, it's related to the try and the exception. Now, try except, this is also one instruction. It's not 2 different, it's 2 keywords for one instruction, which is the try. So all the programming languages, they have try. All the programming languages, they have constructor, but how to build the constructor in the object-oriented programming. Now let's forget about the object-oriented programming. We just find it as example here. But whatever we did today, it was only for the 4 instructions and we add the try to it. That means I spoke today about the only what I told you in the last session. Okay. So I'm not out of the loop, of the scope. I'm still in the scope.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Guy. Okay. Does anyone have any question before I go on? If you have a question, please unmute yourself. Anybody has a question, please unmute yourself, ask. Because basically what you have seen now is just, it's not the real action. We're still going to build this step by step, but this is just to show you like the end. Like these are what some of our projects are going to be in this session. It's just to show you like the end so that you can know, okay, these are some of the things I should be able to do comfortably by the time I am leaving this session. All right. So, but this is just the introduction. If you have any questions, just ask. Anybody?
I have one comment here. I have to say it.
Okay.
what we in this first small game, we just create a logical steps for us in our mind, and then it's direct translation for these steps in comments. If you want to explain, for example, Hugo, you or anybody here want to explain to me this game, he will tell me exactly the following. Okay, we will randomly generate a number, and then we will ask the user or the player to provide chance to make a guess, and then according to that we will tell him, okay, right now if the guess is small, we'll tell him, okay, it's small, you have to make the amount bigger, and if it's high value, we'll tell him, okay, reduce the amount, and if he found it, we'll tell him that we found it. See, here I'm not talking programming, I'm just explaining what is the game. If you go to the code will be available. You go, I will provide it to you if you want to add it to any Git repo or something.
Okay.
It will be yours.
Okay.
If you check the code in this case, you can find it's the same, almost the same, but without the, let's say, the punctuation. Okay, if without the punctuation, it's only if and the logical statement behind it, which is the operation that we perform. This is the reason behind this small game, because it will tell you that the most important is to think correctly, to build a solid case for your program, whatever it was, even if it's a game or not a game. And then according to that, you are able to translate it to programming language, even and step by step, you will be used to have object-oriented programming or to use some other packages or something. So the most important is to be able to write a pseudocode or a user story for your project. This is the most important step, which is designing the project, not designing it as art design. No, design the steps, how it will move from one step to another.
Guys, thank you very much. You mentioned something very important right now, pseudocode. And I want to believe that some people, this might be their first time of hearing the word pseudocode. So
Okay.
what is a pseudocode, and how important is it for a junior developer to build pseudocode? Yeah.
Okay. The pseudocode, that means it's fake code. Pseudo, it's mean fake. What's the meaning of the fake code? That means it's code or a sequence of instruction that explaining what we are going to do, explaining our algorithm, okay? But not in a specific language, a specific programming language. It's not considering the programming language here. It's considering the logical steps that we are performing, that we are moving from one step to another like this. The pseudocode, it has some standardized way to do it. So in English, it's similar to what we see here. For example, the if is if, the while is while, but it's not changing. We are not changing the pseudocode. That means we are writing the pseudocode, and then if the programmer he knows how to read it, he's able to translate it to any other programming language. The target of the pseudocode or the fake code is to be able to explain or to show how your algorithm will work. So according to that, the programmer is able to translate it into programming language and fix some errors. For sure, in the pseudocode, there's some unexpected errors. We are ignoring it because we are only explaining the logic of the program. Okay, that's why, for example, the try catch or the try except here in our case in Python, you cannot find the try in the pseudocode because who's the logic of the pseudocode? It's who's the stupid person. We ask him for a number and he will use a letter. Now, because he is designing the algorithm. Now, the programmer, he is more practical person. No, he is not stupid. Maybe by mistake, he entered a letter. So we have to solve this issue. The pseudocode, it's explaining the logic without take care about the issues or the bugs that might appear. And at the end, it's, let's say, intermediate language between the pure English and the programming language.
Okay, so but is it important for junior programmers to try to build pseudocode before they go into Or they should just dive into production, just write code?
Now, the great thing about Python, sorry, I'm just trying to fill my coffee. The great thing about Python is it has very simplified syntax. So according to that, you can see Python itself, it's considered, when you read the Python code, it's considered just like a pseudocode. Okay. Now, it's important for the junior programmer not to write the pseudocode and following. You can see on the net, you can see some instruction about writing the perfect or the standard pseudocode. But it's not important to write it like this, but it's very important to be able to split your task into logical steps and to follow the correct sequence for these steps. Now, this is the most important. This is the skill that he needs. Now, if he is able to write it on pseudocode, it's extra value, it's good. But if it's not, no problem. But the most important, when he reads the pseudocode, to be able also to understand it.
Okay, great. Okay, so is there any question before we call it a day for today's session? Anybody, please unmute yourself and ask. I'm going to call you one by one. Third, let's start with you.
Hey, hi, Igor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's extremely smooth. I mean, Gate is doing it the best way.
Okay. So
yeah,
no problems.
Until now,
Thank
no
you.
doubt.
Okay, no problems, Teth.
Yep.
Okay, great. Aziz.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's actually not a question for me, but what I would like to say is that I've been trying to learn Python, maybe self-taught way. So, and usually I do find it tiring sometimes, especially when I see blocks of code. I see functions, def, and I see it so long. It seems somehow scary to me, but I think with the way things is being explained here, I'm sure I'll get out better. So I just want to say, just keep doing that. So thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Aziz.
Thank you, Aziz. Okay, Ife. Ife, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I think
Yes, loud and clear.
today has been pretty explanatory. Last week I agree we had some hiccups, but it was looking so, well, I say vague, not really vague, but we're looking at something that will be to an extent very difficult. But I think today has been sharp, calm, and smooth talking, guys. So kudos for that. I think now we're ready to see where he takes us to next.
Okay, great. Okay.
I have a question. Sorry, let's finish.
Go ahead.
Yes, no. Let's see Manal or the others if they have anything,
okay,
and then
Manal.
Hello. Thank you for this
Yes.
presentation. It was fair enough clear to me, because I have a computer science background and mathematics background. So I used to code with C and Java and Python. That's clear. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Manan.
Great. All right then. Okay.
Hugo, I have a
Omoy.
question. I have a question for you and for the
Go ahead.
others.
Go ahead.
I choose to go with the games. Okay. Now, this is, you might see that
Yes.
it's far away from for example, from data science somehow. But for the introductory level, I feel the
Yes.
games, it's giving you all the functionalities needed. It's not simple thing at the end. Even if you want to perform a small game with some user interface, you can find yourself writing a lot of code and a lot of functionalities. That's why I choose to go with the games. If you are okay with that, as I told you, we already have 4 games. The 4th one, it's fancy somehow, but it's 2D. It's not 3D. Okay. But if you want to go in different direction, please tell me and we can go in that direction. But I prefer, when you talk about Python, just only this is advice. You are able to take it or leave it, no issues. But be ready before going to the data science, to be ready with your tools. That means understanding how Python is doing the things well. And then when you move to the data science, it will be easy to use all the packages and all the tools for the data science. This is my suggestion, but if you want to move and forget about the games, I'm okay with that.
No, guys, we will do the games. We will do the games. We will do the games.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we have office hours, so we'll use the office hours to just catch up on one or two things. Then on Saturday we'll continue with these games. At least by then, by tomorrow, a lot of things will have been clearer, and then so that when we are now doing the games, it's just straightforward. It's not a problem.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. So Saturday we start with this game because tomorrow office hours I intend to just explain some of these keywords that we talked about today in more detail so that when people see it, they understand what it does. And then we'll build one or two games if we can next Saturday.
I'm already ready with 3, so we'll see how much the time it will allow us.
Great. Okay, great. Okay. So,
can I add something to it?
Are you there? Oh, okay, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah. Just wanted to tell that, I mean, apart from games, I mean, yes, it is the best according to the understanding of concepts in Python, but we can even add something like real life problems, like something like text to speech or speech to text, which can also help. I mean, coding in Python it's just 4 to 6 lines for that type of application. So I think that would be even helpful to view the code and understand the functionality that the Python has an abundant of.
Great. Lovely. Okay, so what I have done is that I have put a Microsoft Word file in the chat section, and I want you to download it. What the Microsoft file section carries is what the schedule of the Saturday classes look like, right? Because this class is introduction to programming, but for data science. So we're trying to marry the two of them, the two concepts, regular Python programming and data science. So we have these devoted to stuff like libraries that you will see in data science, like pandas, like matplotlib, and seaborn. We have this devoted to NumPy, and Tom is taking that class. Then we have some other days devoted to things like general programming stuff. So the first 3 to 4 weeks is devoted to general programming stuff, and that's why we're trying to maximize this first 3 to 4 weeks so that we'll get our footing right for when we hit the second phase of this session, which is some libraries that you will meet in data science. And then when you now get a grasp of some of those libraries, then the next session, because there's another session that's going to be run after this introductory class, that's intermediate programming for data science. We will now go heavy on some of these Python concepts. And as usual, guys will be here to pilot the sessions. And yeah, so that's the stuff. And that's why, because we know we have a lot of work to do, we are doing the officers and the Saturday classes and trying to get the best of both worlds. Aziz, you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to ask you, now you mentioned about the intermediate section. I want to ask if we'll be automatically promoted to that, or do we have to say, maybe run for the chance?
Okay, technically, it's not like you'll be promoted or you have a certification exam. Like we told you, at the end of this session, we'll have a project, and we want to believe that, and the project is not like we're setting you up to fail. No, the project, we actually have mentors, all right, that walk you through each session's project. So It's not like we'll just set you up, give you a project to fail, and no. The project, you actually have people walking you through each levels of the project. Okay, so we want to believe that at the end of this session, everybody that attends this session should be able to work on the projects. And when you have any hiccups while you're building the project, you feel free to book a session with us on Calendly, and we would see the areas you're having difficulties in and then try to help you out. But it's very key that to progress to the intermediate phase of the class, you would need to pass the project that we are doing. But again, like I said, we're not setting you up to fail. It's not like we give you a project to fail and then we'll tell you, no, you can't go to intermediate. No, we'll give you a project. As long as you want to go to intermediate, we will support you so much, to the point that you finish the project, and when you go into intermediate, you're fine. You're fine. So the motto of this class is no one left behind. We will not leave anybody behind. Okay, Manal, I'm going to put up our YouTube channel, the link to our YouTube channel I'm going to put it up on Zoom right now. Just give me a second. Let me get that YouTube channel. I'm going to put it up right now. So that you can always catch up with whatever it is that we are doing.
Hi, sorry, just a quick question on the YouTube channel.
Okay,
would you be putting the Sunday sessions on there as well? Because I noticed it's just the Saturday one. Okay. Yeah, I noticed it was just the one on Saturday.
Okay, let me just bring it up.
Okay.
Just a second. Just a second. Okay, let me just copy the link. I don't know why. This is slow. Just give me a second. As soon as I switch it to time zone, I will just okay. Okay, great. So let me just copy the link address and put it up on. Okay, so that's our channel. This is a channel. Then here, okay, guys, if you allow me share my screen. Okay, great. So I can share my screen. You're not sharing. So what you see here on your screen is the YouTube channel. And you can see we have the video of day one, and then we have the office hours. So for today too, as soon as we are done, I'll upload the video for day two. I usually upload both videos on Sundays. Like after the office hours, I just upload the video for yesterday and the office hours. So you always see both. You always see both the office hours and the Saturday class, just in case for any reason you miss it. But we always encourage you to be part of these sessions because they just help tie up any loose ends that we may have, so that we do not, miss our targets, because we have beacons that we believe that we should get to by certain time. So that's what it does for us. Amoy, does that help you?
Yes, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, great. But what has the experience been so far?
Well, I'm new to this, so I really like the pace that you're taking, that he's taking the trainings, because I'm really able to follow. And I'm looking forward to being able to do all the things I like, setting up those games and being able to do things like that.
Right.
By the way, I just want to add one thing related to the Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Now, everybody was happy with the Visual Studio Code because it's free. Now, Visual Studio Community, it's also free. This is the first step. But it's, as I told you, it's supporting a lot. I suggest if you are continue, by the way, whatever we perform today using Visual Studio, it's happened, it can be performed by any IDE. There is nothing new on it. So the only thing it's to have to follow the functionality. By the way, even this game, the first game, it can be performed using Google Colab because there is nothing, no user interface related to it. So even if you copy and paste on the Google Colab, it will work for you. That's why we keep it simple for the first game, because not to move immediately to the IDE. But next week, we will need the IDE. So this is, I'm just want to notify you about that.
Can I quickly ask? I'm not sure if I missed this. How will we be getting the code? Are we having a GitHub account? Or...
Yes, we'll put it up on the GitHub, and then we'll send a mail to everybody to let you know our repo. I'll do that this week. Okay, so in the absence of any other thing, I want to thank you, our pilot guy, for today. We look forward to next week, because next week is going to be very hands-on. Yes, and then please, we have 2 sessions remaining today. We have the tech chat. Tech chat is like I told you, is an ask me anything session with our father Tom Ives, and just if you're just there, just ask anything. What is data science? Why are we even talking about data science? Why are we not talking about data arts or data biology or something? There's no stupid question. Whatever you ask will be answered. All right. And it will be an opportunity also.
Hugo, sorry for interruption, Hugo.
Yes.
You can ask anything, but there is no promise about the answer. There is a promise about the trail to answer. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the time to join the tech chat always, because there is a class behind it and then the mentoring. But this is important. The trail, and I think the trail to answer is more important than the answer itself. Okay, that means at least we know how to look for answer, how to search for the suitable answer, and how to yes, exactly. Sorry for interruption.
Exactly. And that's one of the very important things you're going to as a programmer, because most times when you go into these things, you will not have support on, as in you might not have a person to call or anything. So you need to know where to look for answers when you have that question. Tom might be on vacation, Guy might be very busy. So what that means is that you're on your own. So where do you look for these answers? That's another thing that happens in tech chats. We try to, make this, and most times too, especially for the last couple of weeks, there has been some people that have brought issues on cases like scikit-learn, and some other libraries use some machine learning. So that's what Tom is addressing now, try to solve the issues there that they brought up. And then if you want to have a first-hand experience, like today, Tom is going to be finishing the case that Tamira's brought up. So if you want to just have an experience, you just want to see what it looks like when you're even a full data science programmer, you can't miss it. And then mentoring is very, very key. Mentoring starts at 4 p.m. GMT, and it's just like 2 hours from now, and it's for 1 hour 30 minutes. It's just a family meeting where we talk about things generally, not just AI and data, but just things. So you'll see us talking about, like today now, George Ferikan will be in the house. Yes, we'll be talking data, but we'll be taking data from different angles. So sometimes we even talk about the soft skills that are required for data science. So we'll talk about, different things. So, but it's something you shouldn't miss. It's something you shouldn't miss. So what I'm going to do is, you already, for those of you who have joined the integrated MLAI Slack group, you already have the link, but I'm going to send you the link again right now because we're opening it up on YouTube today so that a lot of people can come in and visit. So I'm going to do you a mail right now, sending the link. Okay. So I think that's about it. Those two sessions are very, very important. Very important. They're sessions you should not miss. Personally, I always look forward to tech chats and mentoring. And then by the time you are done with this, the class guide was talking about is automated machine learning pipeline, how to build it. I've always asked myself, when we finish writing this code, now what? You see this game that that guy just displayed? The game is on his IDE. Now what? That game has to be put into some form of pipeline so that you can play it online, or it can be packaged into an exe file so that you can download it and run it on your system or something. So that machine learning class is like an end-to-end process. It shows you, number one, how you write the code for whatever it is you're building. That's one. Number two, how to now deploy it into production. How to now make it, okay, this is what we're doing. Now, how do we put it inside here? Okay, so how does this system, relate to SQL or relate to this? Where, just that whole thing, that whole stuff. And it has been an amazing run so far, so I believe right now, many of the things that are going to be said in the class might be over your head, but if you have some experience with programming and you think that class will be good for you, I mean, it's just in the next 1 hour from now. So I would also send the link in that mail I'm going to send to you right now. So thank you, everyone. While we quickly cut over and head for tech chats. So I will be going to tech chat straight, but I'll do you that mail right now so that you can join tech chats, automated pipeline, and any other one if you want. Okay.
I thank you everyone for attending here. I have one comment only for the people who's not attending the class before. Please, Hugo, if you are able to share the integrated MLAI
okay, yes,
YouTube channel, because
I'll do that now.
all the sessions, the 20 sessions that we did until now, it's there. So you can check the records and start from the session 1. It's ordered there. So this is just for your references. So hopefully this Python class, it will prepare you to go there easily. So this is the only thing that I want to add. And thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. So I'm going to put the link to integrated channel right now. By all means, just feel free to join and look up all the sessions. So that's the link to integrated MLAI session that has all the past editions of the class, just in case you have enough time on your hands and you want to run through. There are over